Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new special episode of the Labels podcast. Today we're going to start a brand new mini-series, aren't we, Alice?
They'd not met in person, but for the last 12 months Lucy Wood and Alice Evans have spent hours talking. Joint hosts of the Labelled podcast, a place for disabled voices to talk about what matters to them. From their homes in Staffordshire and Loughborough, they've recorded 30 episodes, interviewed almost as many guests and notched up more than 3,000 listeners.
I am a little bit flabbergasted, to be honest. I've said to Lucy that, I thought it would be, our mums and maybe a couple of our friends who listened. The fact that we're very quickly approaching 3,000 in less than a year, it really shows to me that people do want to hear what disabled people have got to say.
We both realise that there isn't many spaces for disabled people to tell their own story without sort of having the lens of, it's inspirational.
Both women bring a different dynamic to the show. It's hard to miss Lucy's wheelchair, and Alice is blind, but it's not always immediately obvious. They say they've learned a lot from each other and their guests.
I was always of the school of thought of if somebody asks me why I'm in a wheelchair, I'll tell you, because if you want to know, I've got nothing to hide. And that's true, I've got nothing to hide. But Alice will say things like, why are you satisfying somebody's curiosity about your disability when they don't actually need to know? So I am now quite picky about who I tell and what I tell.
Last week, for the first time, both women finally met in person for a meal, which they enjoyed. What they didn't enjoy, but what they say they get almost every time they go out, were the questions and comments.
3 people within the space of 2 hours said to her, are you training the dog? Also, the amount of people that would say to me, could you just look after my bags? Alice said to me, do you think that's because they think you're not going to run off with their shopping?
It feels a little bit like you're a bit of a walking, freak show sometimes. You're a walking curiosity, because I cannot leave my house without somebody asking me about my guide dog. And the questions I get asked are you training her? What can you see? What is your... you don't look blind. It really makes you feel as though you're the only thing about you that people see is your disability. And that was why, part of the reason why, we were really drawn to calling the show Labelled as we did, is because actually what we wanted to show was that we aren't just our disabilities, that there's so much more to us.
I'm taking the reins today, and
The women have big plans for their podcast. Their audience is growing, and with that, they hope understanding and empathy is too. Lucy Capassi, ITV News.